Greetings and welcome back to Stellarium Astronomy Software for Astrologers, a series of instructional videos by your host and celestial navigator, Gemini Brett. That's me. Before we dive into Stellarium, I want to address a question that several of you have asked, which is how you can send in donations for this project. Thank you for that. But please don't. Stellarium is an open source free software, and I intend for these instructional videos to be free as well. That being said, I'd love for you to check out my work. You can find me at geminibrett.com with twin T's. And if you check out the courses tab here, you can learn more about my School of Earth Astrology, a very astronomical approach to astrology. Well, all of the mysteries, so sacred geometry, musical harmony, number magic, contributing to a study of traditional and modern technique. You can learn about my Sacred Astronomy for Astrologers course there at that page as well. So please do, if you're in the course or if you're in the school, I'm glad that you're watching these Stellarium videos. And also please check out the bonus classes of Backyard Astronomy, so you can see out on the big screen how some of these astronomical phenomena that we are exploring here, thanks to Stellarium on the small screen, play out. More importantly, get out, get outside, and remember to look up. Okay, in video 1, we played with the web-based version of Stellarium. In video 2, we downloaded the computer version. In video 3, we open Stellarium and we played with time and space. And I want to actually continue the time and space exploration at the beginning of this video, because we are going to look today at the menus down here at the bottom of Stellarium, these different options. And one of them is the time and space bar, actually just time bar. So let me get to the left menu as well. You'll remember from the last video that if you turn these little play icons into stop icons, these menus will stay up. So I'm going to do that. And actually, I want that to be like a permanent setting for me, at least for these instructional videos. When I'm making animations for my astronomy classes, I don't like to have those up. But for these videos, I certainly will. I want them to come up as soon as I open the Stellarium. So I'm going to go here to the configuration window on the left and write Save Settings. You'll also see Save View here. I want to, I'm looking south, which is, it's like kind of human, but I want to get a little bug-eyed so I can see east and west at the same time. I'm going to kind of flatten the horizon out. By the way, I'm just click and dragging. I want the sun to be in view. The sun here in June rises significantly north of east and sets well north of west. So I need a pretty wide view of the horizon beyond the human capabilities if I want to see an entire day of sunrise, sunreach, and sunrest. And I like that. I'm going to set this as the default for now. So here in that configuration window, you also will see Save View. All right, so I'm going to click that, save settings, and now, just for the proof, I'm going to quit Stellarium, which I could do with Command Q, and then open it back up to make sure that those settings took. I could do Command Q, quit, or here on the bottom menu, you see this power button icon, and if I click that, there goes Stellarium. All right, well, let me open Stellarium again. And we'll see if our menus are on screen and if that view was indeed saved. And there you go, right? Okay, so power button on the bottom right. Let's continue from the right to the left. And you see this play and rewind and fast forward as we saw in the last video. This sets time to now. If I turn that play, if I click it, it goes pause, right? And so time has stopped. Maybe I'll bring up the time window so we can see time like blown up. But there's also this display here, which says June 15th, 2022, 7:01 a.m. All right. So we have a fast forward button here, and I can click it and click it again and click it again. And eventually time starts moving really quickly, right? I mean, really quickly, or really, really, really quickly, like too quick. Okay, stop. I can just hit play and we go back to normal speed. I can hit this button and it goes back to current time. Now remember, with everything that I'm looking at in Stellarium, if there is an associated keyboard shortcut, that keystroke will be shown here in the left, or the bottom left near the menu. So you see that says set time to now, bracket 8. So it's something that I can use the key 8 on my keyboard to go now, right? So let me go here. I'm going to fast forward a few times. And let me hit 8. 8. It just keeps jumping back to now, but since I'm in fast forward, as you can see, it's jumping straight back to fast forward. 8. Let me stop it. And so you see set normal time rate is K. So let's go back into fast forward madness. And then I'll go 8K. 8, right? Fast forward madness, stop with K, or at least a second equals a second normal time speed. 8 sets the time to now. You might wonder, how did I do fast forward without touching that magic button here? And the answer is keyboard shortcuts. So you can see as I'm hovering over increased time speed, the keyboard shortcut L. All right, so L, 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 that's hard to say, and K. So K is second equals second. And you might guess that to the left of that K button, the J button is the keyboard shortcut for rewind time, right? Which you can find here at the menu, and we can click it a series of times. And now the sky is spinning backwards. All right, so play, turning it to normal time speed. I just paused it. Now, and we have these different keyboard shortcuts. There's one more keyboard shortcut that's not shown, but I'll introduce it to you now, which is the 7 key. 7 stops time. So here's L, 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 7. 8, time now, right? L, 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 L. J, J, J. Actually, I can move. Let me go K, so regular time speed. Let me go L, 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 and now 1J. So I'm actually still going forward, but less quickly with that J, right? So the J and L, they kind of work on like dialing backwards or forwards, or less forwards or less backwards. Hopefully that makes sense. Here's a bunch of J's. Bring me back to around right now, but the easy way to get there is 8, and then I could hit 7 if I want to just pause time. So there's some time keyboard shortcuts that maybe should have shown up in video number 3, but here you go. And redundancy is built into every great space mission anyway. Learned that one from NASA. All right, well, let's continue here, and we're going to find this button that looks like a satellite. Guess what? It's about satellites. And it says artificial satellites. It's not going to include the moon. Now, it didn't do anything, or maybe it did, but we don't know because all we see is the sun. So you know what? Let's fast forward until it's nighttime, and then I just hit K to slow it down. I'm going to hit actually 7, and that's just pause time. And let's toggle the satellites on and off. And I still don't see anything. I'm just using my trackpad here on my laptop and the Mac. I've got it set for 2 fingers in the trackpad, like it zooms in and out. And I don't know, I'm not seeing any satellites at all. I mean, maybe we have to move through time or search for them or something. Frankly, it's not a function that I really use in Stellarium. I'm much more interested in planets, stars, constellations, astrology stuff. Sometimes if I think I'm seeing a UFO, it's helpful to know maybe that's just a satellite that's on the list. But otherwise, I don't play with this much. And eventually we are going to find our way to some menus that allow us to decide what is kind of default turned on when we first open Stellarium. I'm going to say I'm interested in seeing if I turn that satellite button off, and if I turn this meteor shower button off, that one's pretty clear what's happening, right? All these bright blue meteor showers, which are cool to know as well. But as I'm teaching astrology and astronomy for astrologers, I'm not as interested in meteor showers or satellites as other Stellarium users would be. So I'm going to turn those off. I'm going to go to now. And I'm wondering if I can just keep these two menus turned off, and you can just see, right, when they're turned on, they turn like illuminated. When they're turned off, they don't. I'm going to try going to the configuration window and saving my settings, which will include these menus are out. We saved that view already. This date and time windows up here in the lower right. I'm going to quit Stellarium. Let's use the power button to do so. And I'm interested when I come back into Stellarium, if the satellites and the meteor shower buttons are turned on or off. I'm interested in seeing if that date and time window is here. It is not. I'm kind of surprised about that, actually. Let's see if I turn the date and time window on. You will see that the window is where I left it over here in the lower right. It's kind of a cool truth about Stellarium. But you will also see that the meteor shower and satellite buttons are turned off. Right, so I didn't want them to just be default when I opened Stellarium, and I turned them off. I went to the monkey wrench, the configuration window, wrote save settings, and there you go. I think in our next video, we'll explore how we can add different options to the bottom menu bar using this extras tab here. So let's do that next time, or maybe even further down the road, because I might want to talk about what some of these things are. But let's continue our tour of the bottom menu button. So you've got this show meteor showers search dialog. Okay, I'm gonna go to nighttime again. I'm just hitting L a series of times and taking us to past sunset. Now I'm gonna hit K and just freeze time there. Okay. I'm seeing the moon has just cleared this. The archer of the heavens is heading towards Saturn, who's hanging out with the sea goat. And I'm speaking the names of constellations, okay, which you don't see on the screen. You do if you know how to see the stars, like perhaps you see the scorpion here. But we're gonna get to these buttons and bringing in constellational lines and art next, even though there you go, a preview. Let's look at this show meteor showers search dialog. Right, that's cool. I guess if I want to find out which meteor showers are around, well, between now, today is June 15th, and let's say the end of the month, go July 1st, showing me different meteor showers I can tune into. I wonder if I click on them. Yeah, that's cool. Then it automatically opened the meteor showers option, right? You'll see that menu icon was illuminated now, right? And it zoomed me into the particular meteor shower that I selected, which is Theta Ophiuchids, apparently. All right, thank you, meteor showers, and good night. All right, well, let's continue around here. So we've got the satellite button, this show meteor showers search dialog. That was pretty cool. Toggle meteor showers. You can see these keyboard shortcuts that are showing up there in the lower left as well, right? So it says Shift Command M. That, if you're on a PC, you won't have that command button look like this. You have a different key. Okay, but let me do Shift Command M and see if that works. Yeah, I had to click back into Stellarium because you may have seen I had a low battery menu pop up that I had to close down. So I was out of Stellarium. And if that happens, like if you're in another place, just click anywhere in Stellarium. And then I can use these keyboard shortcuts. I'm also seeing that I have this Theta Ophiuchids kind of selected, which happened, remember, when I searched for meteor showers for the month and clicked on one. To unselect something, you can, it's like a right click. And if you're on a Mac, that's like a command click, or you might have your trackpad set up as I do, that it's 2 fingers on the trackpad in a click. Okay, so like select the moon, unselect the moon, right? I just clicked somewhere, and that's cool. I chose a crux by accident, who is a star down here below the ground in the constellation of Centaurus and part of the Southern Cross. And I didn't want to select a crux, so I'm gonna right click and turn that off. I'm also going to pause this video recording, get a power cord, and I will be right back. And we're back. All right, so I'm gonna hit this button and turn the meteor showers off. Hitting satellite, nothing, I don't know. All right, this says show exoplanets. So that is kind of cool. You know, these are planets far, far away. I don't know where they are. I'm just noticing as I zoomed in, by the way, there was a thing down here that said load nebulae. I'm noticing as well as when I zoom in, there's some star names popping up. I'm not seeing exoplanets, but that's just not an astronomy that's really in my wheelhouse. I'm much more of the naked eye, feet on the ground, tropical astronomy, like ancient astronomy and astronomy for astrologers. So yeah, I'm sure exoplanets would show if I know where to look for them, but since I don't, I'm just turning that off. Okay, next we get to a full screen button, right? So the default for Stellarium is full screen. I could now go to the configuration window, main, and choose save settings. And well, there's a bunch of settings I just am saving, right? Like I'm saving no atmosphere. I'm saving no asteroids, satellites, or exoplanets. It's not going to save this particular date and time because we have that setting for at time it starts up at system date and time, right? But I'm going to quit Stellarium here. Let's open it again, and we will find that those settings took. I'm just realizing I never turned the atmosphere off. We're getting to that. I just went ahead in time until the sunset and then stopped time, but it went too fast. So I'm somewhere around here, which is, I can see on the menu bar here, June 16th, 2022 at 3:36 a.m. I'm gonna hit 7 and stop time. I could bring in the time and date window and see that more clearly, 3:37-ish a.m. on June 16th, 2022. So there's the full screen button. I'm gonna click that again. And I like for Stellarium to be full screen, so I'm gonna save that setting for myself. All right, moving on, we have this night mode, which does that. And why would you want to? Well, if you bring your laptop outside, for example, if you're looking at the sky and you want to refer to Stellarium to see what's what, there is a Stellarium phone app. I'll do a review of that in a different video. That one's kind of more helpful than the laptop because I can actually point it at the sky and it's going to change with which direction I'm facing and help me see what I'm looking at. But that app, like this one, has a night mode option. So this blue light of the screen isn't killing us, especially when our eyes are adjusting to the night. Stellarium can be used to drive telescopes. And so this option would also be definitely for folks who are using Stellarium connected to their telescope computer to like drive around and change in Stellarium, and then the telescope changes, which sounds really fun, but it's not something I do or something that I can at this point instruct. Maybe in a future instructional video, I'll be there. All right. This says center on selected object. And it also shows me that spacebar is a key. So let me just like select Vega here. Very beautiful, bright star. And I'm gonna hit spacebar. Right, and now Vega is right in the center, so I could zoom all the way in and see this amazing blue being, Vega, come all the way out again. And I can drag around. So let's go moon, and then I'm going to click this icon down here, center on selected object, right? Or Jupiter, spacebar. Antares, the heart of the scorpion, spacebar, right? Arcturus, that little icon down below, center. All right, there you go. Next to that one, and remember, I just right-clicked to unselect Arcturus right then. Next to that one, we have switch between equatorial and azimuthal mount. Okay. Well, this has to do with telescope stuff. I'm also interested in it, though. I'm going to look south because in the northern hemisphere sky, we're going to see that the southern sky moves clockwise. It's actually why our clocks move in this way. We used to call it sunwise, this clockwise motion of the southern sky. But I'm interested if I go from this equatorial to azimuthal mount. Oh, this I guess would be an azimuthal mount. I'll say why I believe that is so. And this would be the equatorial mount. This is like letting me see, and I want to slow down before we all vomit, but in a sense, it's letting me see that it's not the sky spinning, but rather it's the earth spinning. And because the earth spins, we here on earth notice the sky spinning. The earth spins from the west to the east, and so we earthlings experience the heavens spinning from the east to the west. So I'm guessing an equatorial mount on a telescope helps us track that motion. Now it just feels like I'm somewhere hovering above disk Earth. But yeah, here we see sun rising, and we're kind of feeling that Earth spin instead of sky spin. If I shift back to the azimuthal mount, we're gonna be more feet on the ground of Earth and experiencing the spinning sky. I'm waiting until we're kind of in this place where I guess the two mounts are in agreement, like kind of feet on the ground. In the northern hemisphere, that's going to be looking south. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm back to what I assume is the azimuthal mount. I can also see it's Command M as a keyboard shortcut to go between those two. That didn't seem to toggle it, whatever. I don't want to anyway. I'm going to go back to any nighttime view and do that. And here we have planet labels is our next icon at the bottom menu, and pretty clear. So at this point, you can see both Saturn and Jupiter has just risen. It's LLL. I'm bringing them up above the ground. And then I'm going to hit K and pause this thing. Actually, let's wait for Venus to rise as well. There you go. And now hitting that icon that looks like Saturn, and you can see it says planet labels. We're bringing the labels for the planets, including the moon. Interesting. I guess Stellarium astronomy software speaks astrology, where we know that the moon is a planet. It's planetas, right? It means wanderers in the Greek, the wandering stars. And so these labels just this button brings the labels in and out. You can see it's not affecting this label for Vega because Vega is a star. I assume we'll find a different button for that. I don't see one here on the icon, so it's going to be hidden in a menu, or perhaps it's a button that we can add to this bar, which I think will be our next video in this series. You can see there's a keyboard shortcut. This is a Option P, that weird glyph next to the P is a Mac thing. It's the Option key. So I'm doing Option P, and there go the planet labels, and here they come, there they go, and here they come. All right. Our next option is Deep Sky Objects in D. And unlike the meteor showers or satellites, that one was not default selected by Stellarium. And I guess you can see why. It's kind of overwhelming how much stuff comes up on the screen. So these things are cool if you got a big pair of binoculars or a telescope, right? It'll help you to tune into some amazing things. Andromeda here is shown in red, maybe because it's a galaxy where these other things are not, although Messier 39 might be. It's probably a nebula. But maybe red because the Andromeda Galaxy is actually naked eye visible. From what I can see, the only one of these things that is. You know, a cool test for if that's what red means is let's move forward in time, and we'll bring Orion up. Oops, where's Orion? Okay, well, let's jump ahead to a couple different menu options, and then we'll come back to that thought. So this one to the left of the deep sky objects, which I'm noticing they don't show in Stellarium when the sun is out, which makes sense, right? This next one is cardinal points. It looks like a compass rose. So you'll see when I click that, all the east, southeast, south, southwest go away, right? So pretty simple. And you can see there's a keyboard shortcut, Q. So there's the Q key. And you circle east, Q brings E back in, and Q takes it away. Okay. Well, the one next to that compass rose is, it looks like a sun and a cloud, and it's the atmosphere. And you can see the keyboard shortcut A. So here we can do seeing through Earth's atmosphere, so we can explore, you know, the sky even by day when the sun is up. I mean, it's an amazingly convenient truth. Our astrology softwares, this one being Astro Gold, our astrology charts let us see through the sun too. Like I can see that Jupiter is about to culminate here in the south. Where I sit, if I go to time now, which is the 8 key, there's Jupiter about to culminate in the south, right? I mean, our softwares also let us see below the ground. I mean, our astrology charts do, so does Stellarium astronomy software, and that's the next key here. You can see that ground, and the keyboard shortcut is G. Okay, so I just took the ground away. It's helpful if we have a horizon line in here. We'll find that in a different menu in a future video. But, you know, I can bring the ground in and out. I can bring the atmosphere in and out. I like having the atmosphere off. Before I save that setting, though, I'm going to turn deep sky objects off. And this so far is like a good setting for me. Stellarium comes on, even though it's daytime, the atmosphere is taken out so I can see some stars and planets. I don't have satellites, asteroids, deep exoplanets, or other things. And so I'm going to go to the configuration window, the monkey wrench, and just write save settings. I like this, I think, for the settings when we open Stellarium up. So you'll see that in our next video. Well, I was wondering before, I'm going to turn the deep sky objects back on, and so many of them, if Orion Nebula would show up as red, because like Andromeda Galaxy, it's actually naked eye visible. I'm guessing now, though, actually red just means galaxy. You can see that's true for Triangulum Galaxy as well. And I'm noticing I have to move a little bit forward in time, that the Orion Nebula is not circled in red. So my hypothesis was incorrect that red might indicate naked eye objects, and that's not true. It looks like the red is just for galaxy, while yellow is for other things. Well, how did I know that Orion has risen? Because I know the stars, and they're easier to see if I take all of these deep sky objects away. And perhaps you know that Betelgeuse is the shoulder of the Orion constellation, and Regal is the foot. And perhaps you don't. Well, maybe it's easier to see Orion if I click this button on the lower left. Okay, so you can see this is constellation lines, and the keyboard shortcut is C. All right, so here they are, in and out. We'll see in a future video how you can change their color, you can change the thickness of the lines, how you can actually change the star lore and move out of this kind of Greco-Roman view of the heavens, connecting the dots in this particular way, how there's actually a few different options for Western tradition constellations too. They've been drawn in different ways throughout time. So we'll get to that, but for now, C is this keyboard shortcut, or this icon in the very lower left of the bottom menu bar is the constellation lines. Next to it, constellation labels. Okay, so now we see Pegasus, Andromeda, Pisces, which I prefer to call fishes because constellations and signs are different things. Aries, which I prefer to call Ram, Taurus. Aldebaran is a star. It's the royal star, the eye of the celestial bull. Taurus, the name of the constellation that I prefer to call bull, because constellations and signs are different things. Regardless, you can see here, this is turned constellation labels on and off. So as you're getting to know your constellations, that's a wonderful tool to have. Once you learn them, you don't need it anymore. I'm gonna say, what's the name of that rabbit constellation again? That's Lepus. How do I know it's a rabbit? Well, linguistics, I guess, but not for me. For me, it's familiarity with the night sky. But you can also go here, which is constellation art. And the keyboard shortcut is R for art. Okay, and now I get to see that Lepus is indeed a rabbit that's hanging out with Orion here. Okay, so I knew that I had to move forward through time to get Orion on the screen to test my hypothesis of, does red deep sky object mean visible sky object? The answer is no, but I wanted to check out the Orion Nebula. I'm clicking near there right now. Let's do the space bar, or this icon that we saw down here is click on center on selected object. And then I'm going to zoom way in. And now Orion Nebula, which seems like I can't just select it, but we can see this amazing, beautiful Orion Nebula, which looks like a fuzzy star, naked eye style. So let me turn on the deep sky objects, and we'll see the Great Orion Nebula, but also Beckland Star, Demarian's Nebula, the lost jewel of Orion. That's fantastic. So I'm not in any way suggesting that we should not explore these things, and wonderful to do, especially if you have a telescope and you're especially away from bright city lights. But I'm here to teach astronomy for astrologers and Stellarium astronomy software for astrologers. And while I think astrologically be very interested to bring in, galaxies and whatnot to our correspondences, we're not going to do that in this series of videos. So I'm turning the deep sky objects off. We have only 2 more icons down here on the bottom menu bar to explore. We've done satellites, meteor search, meteors, exoplanets, full screen, red eye, center on object, azimuthal versus equatorial mounts for the telescope, planet labels, deep sky object, compass marks, atmosphere, ground, and constellation art, constellation labels, constellation lines. Okay, so there's 2 more things to see. And they are these grids. I'm going to uncheck Beckland's star to get rid of all of this information here. We, in a future video, will see how we can kind of select which information we want to see. The default is lots of stuff. All right, and let's look at this first grid. You can see as I hover above it, it's called the equatorial grid. This is based upon the celestial equator, or Earth's equator projected into space, which wherever you stand will always move through the cardinal directions east and west. So this is the celestial equator. It has a declination of 0 degrees because declination is an angular measurement north or south of Earth's equator or celestial equator, our equator projected into space. So this one has 0 declination. I'm not seeing the label for 10, but I am seeing the label for 20 here, for 30, for 40. So this just means 20 degrees declination or 20 angular degrees north of the celestial equator, which is moving through east and west. I could take the ground away and look, we might see some labels here, like at the bottom of the screen, I see -30. So this line, like where Fomelo is, Fomalhaut, Fomalhaut, some call this the royal star, the bright southern eye of the southern fish. It has a declination I can see using this equatorial grid of 30 degrees south because we use plus for north and minus for south, okay? So if I click on Fomelo, we're gonna see here somewhere in this mix of too much information, right ascension and declination. And you'll see that the declination here is -29 degrees and 30 minutes. In other words, 29.5 degrees south of the celestial equator, which we could see conveniently using this grid, right? Because there you go, -30 and Fomelo's right there. You can also go this way and see 23 hours. So this is called right ascension. I'm gonna, in a future video, when we bring in some different lines, talk more about what right ascension is, what celestial longitude is. But just know for now that declination, measurement north or south of the celestial equator, which once we turn on this equatorial grid, we should know is this blue curve, because the celestial equator will always pass through the cardinal directions east and west. So I can just see that Saturn currently has south declination while Jupiter currently has north declination, and that Jupiter is actually very close to the celestial equator. So Jupiter is going to have a declination near 0. Here it is, 1 degree and 11 or 12 arc minutes. Okay, Mars a little bit further north, declination, etc. Also, while Jupiter's closer to the 0 hours of right ascension, Mars is right at 1 degree right ascension. So you can see that here, RA, I said 1 degree, sorry, it's 1 hour out of 24 hours of right ascension, and about 4.5 degrees north of the celestial equator. So this icon is the equatorial grid. In our next video, I'll show you how you can add the ecliptic grid. Maybe more interesting for astrologers. They both should be, they both are. And so is this grid, which is azimuth and altitude. Okay, last thing we will do today, azimuth and altitude. What is that? What is this grid? Well, altitude, I think, is pretty clear, right? It is an angular measurement from the horizon, which has an altitude of 0, to directly above our head, the zenith. That's here in this circle. That's an altitude of 90 degrees. We could also go down below our feet. I'll take the ground away. This circle here is the nadir, which is the anti-zenith, like right down beneath our feet. And the convention is that the horizon, shown here marked by the cardinal directions, and also you see the 0 here on the left and the right. 0 altitude means the horizon. Negative altitudes are below the ground. Positive altitudes above the ground, okay? And the zenith is 90. So it looks like we're going 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 degrees of altitude. They look like, they're getting stretched once you go up. Well, that's because we're taking like the appearance of a dome in the sky and putting it onto a flat screen and projecting it in a certain way. There are different types of projections that we can utilize in Stellarium too. We'll get to that in a future video. Azimuth is the corresponding coordinate to altitude. While altitude is up and down, azimuth is around and around. Like south is an azimuth. And the convention is that north is 0 degrees azimuth. We're seeing that here at the top of the screen. North is going to be 0 and 360, right? Coming full circle. The convention, long-standing convention, is that north is 0 degrees azimuth. And then you move, you increase azimuth as you move from the north towards the east. East being square or at a right angle to north is 90 degrees azimuth. You can see that here. So I'm seeing that the sun in this moment, let me see if that is this moment. No, this is this moment. I can see that Aldebaran is due east, right? I can see Aldebaran's above east, but I can also see Aldebaran's at this 90 degree azimuth. And over here in the list, once I selected Aldebaran, I see 90 degrees and 54 minutes azimuth. That's almost due east at 90. And I can also see Aldebaran currently has an altitude of about 29 degrees. You can see that's changing pretty quickly because the sky is spinning, right? Let me hit 7 to stop time. And now all that stuff just paused. Okay, well, south, and according to the convention, has an azimuth of 180. Jupiter is almost there. This is very key for Northern Hemisphere observers because the astrological midheaven will be due south. So let me go to now. Jupiter is very close to the midheaven. That means Jupiter is very close to due south. I can see that on a points list here at AstroGold astrology software because I can see Jupiter has an azimuth of near 180 degrees, which is due south. All right, so there's the azimuth altitude grid. As I said earlier, I'll show you how you can add an ecliptic grid to the list. But for now, that's enough for Stellarium astronomy software for astrologers part 4. See you in part 5. See you next time.